Okay, now we are coming on. So, the last about 5 minutes here I've been talking, and nobody has been listening. Apologize for the technical difficulties, so we'll start a little bit over again. Division 2, Snitches get Stiches versus FSG. It is a best of one on Braxis holdout. Both teams currently sitting at 3-3. And we have Gul'dan, Arthas, and Ariel for Stiches get Snitches, and Ragnaros and Malfurion for FSG. As I mentioned during the beginning when I was muted and nobody could hear me, Arthas did, of course, get a number of changes in the patch earlier this week. I've played a lot of him. I think he is much, much better. I still don't know if he's quite solo tank material, but he does really put a big... He's really hard for melee auto attackers to deal with. There's no doubt about it. And he's much tankier. And he can still do decent damage. So I think he's going to be in a good spot. Looks like FSG will come back with a ETC ban. ETC got no changes this week with all the tank switches. And I'm sure he will stay right where he was in the meta, which is highly contested. One of the top tanks, really good with initiating and peel, and two excellent heroic abilities that are highly impactful. Snitches get Stiches now on the clock for their mid-round ban. And they opt to ban a Nubarak, keeping the anti-spell damage mage away. Two picks coming the way of FSG. Now we're coming on. So, I think we will see a ranged assassin and a tank of some sort. Usually teams... Hey, Mitch, how's it going, man? Usually teams don't save their last pick for a must. They like to keep it as a flex pick so they can respond to what the other team is going to do. So that would make a lot of sense. You don't want to leave your tank to the end. So we're going to see a tank and some kind of ranged carry, I would guess. Five seconds left, and we will see those picks here right about now. Tyrael, there's the tank, and Muradin. So no, their last pick won't be able to be a flex pick now nearly as much. And there's the reworked Cho'Gall. So Cho'Gariel instantly locked in Arthas and Gul'dan to round out that team. Cho'Gall, we'll see how they go. And I think, is that a Master Skin Cho'Gall? I don't know if I've actually seen a Master Skin Cho'Gall in game, and I think that's what that is. That was an insta-lock, too. They really had that in their mind. FSG currently has none of the counters. None of the counters to Cho'Gall on their roster. we're going to see one of them here. Stiches, possibly. I don't think we're going to see a Leoric because that would leave 4 melee heroes. So it's going to be some kind of ranged hero with some kind of giant killer is what we're going to see here. I think it almost has to be Stiches, doesn't it? And it's Vala. Vala does a lot of damage, but to my knowledge, she does not have a percentage-based damage like Giant Killer. This is going to be interesting. We did have a Cho'Gall in a cast earlier this season. I believe it was last week. It did not fare well for that team. However, that was a 3-lane map, and the other team was able to counterpick. In this case, Stitches Get Snitches got the Cho'Gariel. Ariel with the empathetic link pairs so well with Cho'Gall. And they did it without leaving FSG any room to get the counterpick. So the laning assignments, I believe they will leave Arthas as the solo laner. He's not spectacular at that. His wave clear is so-so, but he does have self-sustain. And that will leave Cho'Gariel and Gul'dan in the bottom lane. And that 4-man will really put a lot of pressure on Muradin, Vala, Malf, and Tyrael. I don't think we'll be able to contend with that 4-man. So I think Rag should win the top lane against Arthas, and Stitches Get Snitches 4-man is better than FSG. So, for Snitches Get Stitches, we have Majesty on Ariel, Jamster on Arthas, Tryhard on Gul'dan, and Andorian and Dariana on Cho'Gall. Together, they form Andana, I'm going to say. And they are all wearing or riding their brand new Elemental Stags, winning the Mount Synergy game. The red team today, FSG, Leviathan on Ragnaros, Genzers on Malf, Brickhouse on Tyrael, and I Like Turtles on Vala. Interesting choice with the solo laner. I actually like this decision. Muradin and Arthas will just kind of sit up there and wail on each other, not much getting done. I do think Arthas will clear a little bit faster, but by keeping Rag out of the solo lane, he will be able to contend with that wave clear much better than if he were in the solo lane. So I kind of like that decision here by FSG. You can see so far the wave clear about even, but the Gul'dan poke damage is slowly wearing down red team. And you can see Arthas is winning the top. His wave clear is a little better than Muradin, but that's going to be a lot of nothing going on up there. Manticore is 5%. Okay, so she does have that percentage based. That's not going to be till 16 though. It'll be interesting to see what they do beforehand. Ariel and Cho'Gall pair so well together, especially with a particular Ariel build. And with Cho'Gall's built-in Molten Core and the Crystal Aegis, it's 2 get-out-of-jail-free cards for Cho'Gall, and it can be really difficult to deal with that. Right now, both teams kind of splitting even. I think an underrated aspect of Brax's holdout is controlling the regen globes. If you can control those, that is one more form of sustain denied to your team. So that's very important. Beacons will be spawning here in just a second. FSG immediately jumps onto this bottom one. Cho'Gall now invading, getting chunked down pretty hard, as is Rag, but Cho'Gall forced to retreat. I think he may have to go all the way back in the top, just hammering away at each other. And like I said, I think Arthas will win that. It's going to be slow and a little boring, and those guys are just going to hammer on each other. In the bottom, though, Cho'Gall was able to retake it. Snitches Get Stitches, secure the kill on Vala, and also 20% of the Zerg wave. I do not think FSG will be able to hold this if Snitches decides to go up here, and they won't. So some decisions to be made, definitely, for FSG. Muradin has been, so far, unable to handle Arthas one-on-one. And in the bottom, the 4-man is slowly winning, and this is their response. This is the in-game adjustment. They do send Malfurion up here to put pressure on Arthas. It's probably not going to result in a pick, but Arthas may have to go all the way back, and that allows them to at least stem the tide of the Zerg wave momentum that Snitches get Stiches had. We're going to go with SGS, so I don't keep muffing their name. SGS putting a lot of pressure on this bottom fort. In the early game, definitely in their favor. They are also pretty close to securing that first 100-0 wave. Once Mouth left the top lane, Arthas went right back down and took it, and there is the 100-0 wave. Now, it will be pushing top, so I imagine... No, they're just going to stay down here and push hard, knowing that FSG cannot leave defenders down here. Only Tyrael here to defend. He will not be able to do really much of anything other than hang out and have a presence to soak up the XP. But if he tries to do much more than that, he can get blown up against 4 members of SGS here in the bot. Now, however, FSG's members are coming down to reinforce Vala and Malfurion. FSG still outnumbered here, and they saved the fort for the time being, but I think all SGS needs to do is throw a half-eaten ham sandwich and maybe a Diet Coke at that bottom fort, and it's going to go down. In the meantime, that top wave got nothing. What they got was in the bottom lane. That was, so all in all, that was very good defense by FSG. They're only down by about a half a level. However, the early game definitely in favor of SGS, and they're going to need to start making some kind of adjustment, or maybe they're just confident that their level 10s will change the dynamics of this game significantly. Certainly Sanctification can do that. So how these teams interact with each other post-heroics is going to tell how the end of this game is going to go. Well, there is the half-eaten ham sandwich. Now all they need is the Diet Coke, and there goes the bottom fort. So Gall's Poke is able to wrap up the first fortification destroyed of this game, and about a half-level advantage for SGS. Arthas still doing a nice job. Since his rework earlier this week, he is definitely tanky, and with his self-sustain, he can hang out and, for the most part, keep himself out of trouble. So while his wave clear is a little bit weak, he is a safe solo laner in that he's very difficult to kill, even if he's not particularly effective at shoving in the lane. So it looks like we're going to have a lane swap now. Arthas will be taking over the solo lane, and the 4-man for SGS will be rotating top. An invasion by FSG, very aggressive. I think caught SGS off guard, and they bully Cho'Gall off the point and steal the siege camp. Really nice, aggressive, calculated play by FSG, getting a little more pressure in the bot lane. Tyrael will not be able to stay in that top lane by himself long, and now FSG, no, still not making the rotations quite yet. Teams content right now to split. SGS taking the top shrine, FSG taking the bottom one. Rag has come up top to reinforce, however, even Rag and Tyrael is not going to be enough to do much with the 4-man of SGS here. Cho'Gall denying Brickhouse the ability to get back into his base through the gate. Just poke after poke between Gul'dan and Gall. No mana to worry about. Actually, this whole rotation here does not ever have to worry about mana. They just poke and poke and poke, and they are on the verge of getting heroics. Rag and Tyrael doing everything they can to hold it. Now Rag will pop his Molten Core just to buy his team a little bit of space. However, 10s are achieved by SGS. The rotation coming from FSG here, seeing if they can get... They may get Ariel. Oh, nope, she whips Malfurion right into the wall. Caught and feared is Muradin with the Crystal Aegis from Ariel, and Muradin goes down. Only the second kill of this game. Getting aggressive from Cho'Gall. Are we going to see the Sanct? There's the Sanctification immediately with the Sulfurous Smash as well. Twilight Dream and both teams disengaging after mashing all of their R buttons. We do have Sulfurous Smash from Ragnaros, Avatar from Muradin, Strafe from Vala, Twilight Dream from Malfurion, and Sanctification from Tyrael. Top fort has now fallen for FSG, and they have secured both shrines and a second 100-0 Zerg rush. I think I mentioned it earlier, but the more I think about it, the lack of mana bars for SGS, I think, is a huge factor. They can just get into these massive war of attrition, and with the damage from Gul'dan and Cho'Gall, Ariel has permanent heals, and there's just no mana to ever worry about, whereas the longer these fights go, FSG has to back up and fill up those mana bars. So level 10s from SGS is Crystal Aegis on Ariel, Horrify from Gul'dan, Army of the Dead from Arthas, Twilight Hammer from Cho, and Shadow Bolt Volley from Gall. Muradin got very low, is able to get out. A double root from Arthas. And I think this this keep is going to go down. There's the Twilight Hammer into the Howling Blast, and once again Muradin able to walk away with the low health bar, but otherwise intact. Just waiting for that Dwarven healing to proc. This game has definitely been controlled by SGS. However, only 2 kills the entire game, about a level and a half up. I imagine at some point in the near future, maybe this is it, as all members are here, and not so much for SGS. The Horrify used defensively. Now Arthas is in the neighborhood, then it would be a 5-on-5. What I started to say is I think at some point FSG is going to have to try to draw a line in the sand and get some kills, and I think that's when this game will break open. And here goes the Cho'Gall engage, misses on Decode Monkey's Muradin. Tyrael whipped into the wall, but he is able to go away. Great Sanctification into the Molten Core, and this may be the line in the sand I was talking about. Arthas is the first to lull. Sulfurous Smash does miss. However, good heal on Mouth, barely keeps Vala up before he himself falls. Cho'Gall and Ariel still going strong, despite what was a really nice Sanctification Molten Core combo there. And a 1-for-1 dead even team fight, assuming Muradin gets away. He dwarf tosses to safety behind the keep wall. Once again, no mana bars for this group to worry about, and they go right back to poking down the wall. A missed whip by Ariel. Cho'Gall dives in, slams Muradin into the wall with the Twilight Hammer for once again retreating. Muradin diving, trying to get somebody. Another Horrify used, this time Muradin not able to get away. FSG has to retreat one more time with Cho'Gall in hot pursuit. Shadow Bolt Volley goes down. A little bit of damage onto a Vala, and the tower taken down, but not much else. So this Cho'Gall pick at the end, paying dividends for SGS as they have controlled this game from minute 1. FSG has had a couple of nice engagements, but they just can't crack that Cho'Gall Gul'dan quartet. A solo invade by Muradin. He takes a lot of damage, being forced to retreat. Down goes Muradin. On the backside, Ariel is forced to Crystal Aegis, does get caught in a Twilight Dream. A nice Sanctification Ariel so low. Tyrael goes down. However, his trait will do a lot of damage onto Cho. So far, 3 members of FSG down. Only Ariel falls for SGS. And in the meantime, the Zerg wave was secured for SGS, and it is another 100 to essentially 0 Zerg wave pushing on this top keep. Barring a miraculous defense here, nice Molten Core by Leviathan. Barring a miraculous defense here, though, this keep will go down, and FSG will be without any defensive structures left on the map. Now, Ariel is not here, so that could be an opportunity for FSG. However, the Shadow Bolt volley did so much work on Malf and Vala, essentially forced them to play more conservative than they would otherwise. Now FSG will concern themselves with cleaning up the remnants of the Zerg wave. A talent tier behind, 3 levels behind, actually about 2. They're going to hit 14 right now. FSG, though, will be pinned up in their own base for the rest of this game, and things not getting any easier for FSG. So Mercs will be pushing top and bottom, increasing the pressure on FSG even more. They know they have to check the boss, but SGS is not there. So both teams kind of posturing, setting ambushes. There's only a 3-man ambush here, though. And SGS sniffed it out. 3-man root, and that is going to be a dead FSG team. Those 3 members will go down despite the sanctification. Only 2. Muradin gets away. However, the root and the Cho'Gall dive, they absolutely sniffed out that party bush, and the Howling Blast rooted all 3 members, and there Muradin finally falls. SGS posturing to try to win the game here, and it will be close. I think they'll be able to do it. However, Death Timer's still fairly small. Cho'Gall is just going to solo down Malfurion, and that kill will definitely do it. This game going to Stiches. Snitches get Stiches. Well played. Late draft Cho'Gall was the pick that made the difference. FSG had absolutely no answer for the recently reworked Cho'Gall. Gall number 1 in damage, Gul'dan number 2 in damage. That's just a lot to deal with. So congratulations to Snitches Get Stiches, increasing their record this season to 4-3, and well played to FSG. Hard fought, but that late draft Cho'Gall curveball, they just did not have an answer for that, and seemed like they were on their back foot for much of the rest of the game. Thank you to both teams for letting me cast and forgiving me for the first 7 minutes of this, which will not have any sound. But it is fixed, and we fixed it in time for the game and most of the draft, so not too bad there. Everybody have a wonderful evening. We'll see you in the Nexus. Good night.